Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to continue with our color swatches that we created in the last video to come up with a design that involves and will show your understanding of layers and objects within a layer, and how to move things forward, to the front, to the back, or behind each other, and understanding that every object in a file, every object has a placement. It's either at the top or you count backwards to something that's in the very back. So let's understand this. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with typing your name. So let's go up here to our type tool. We'll go to the type tool and let's choose our font name. I'll just go to, let's say, this one, Jua. And when I create text, I do like to click on auto scale font, and that will, I'm going to type my name. And when I escape out of that, I am able to resize it, hold shift in the corner. Oh, no, hit that one, Control Z. Let me click auto scale font right there. And let's try this one more time. And I'll hold shift in the corner and it'll resize it with us. Now I'm going to remove these borders already on it. So I'm going to come down here to the borders and let's just click on this first one, which is the white one. And I can click the trash can here and I'll click on this blue one and I'll hit the trash can also in there. Now, to break this apart, it's going to get a little bit tricky. First, right now, this is still a font. So the first thing we need to do to be able to break this apart is we have to convert it to a path. So it's no longer font, which in Adobe Illustrator is just create outlines. But I'm going to convert it to a path, and it is no longer a font. You cannot change this anymore. It is no longer Jua, the font name. Now what I need to do is break this apart. And in Adobe Illustrator, there is a way to just right-click ungroup, but it is not available in Gravit right here. So there is a workaround. What we can do is split path. And basically every one of these letters is just a series of paths. The R is a single path. The B is a path on the outside, and this inside donut hole, I call it path. There's two of them. But let's go ahead and click on split path, and it's going to break them all up. Now the problem with this is it split all these paths, separate them. So we need to bring them back to a compound path. So the way we do this in Gravit is that you're going to select both paths for the A right there, the outer and the inner path. I'm going to come up to the compound shape option, go drop down and click on difference, and it's going to turn it back into a compound path. And we have to do this just for the letters that have donut holes. Top over here and click on difference. All right, now each of these letters are completely separate. Now what you might want to do, well actually what I do want you to do for this assignment is, let's go ahead and clean up these layers. We're going to talk about layers over here. This just gets a little bit tricky over here. I'm going to click on the letter B, and you can see it's this compound path right here. But if you double click on it, you could rename it. There's my B, enter, click on the R right there. It's just a single path, double click. I'm going to rename that layer to R, double click this Y. Oops, sorry, single click. No, let's go to my black arrow. Sorry, don't double click. And this one, I'm going to double click here on the path name, on this object name, sorry. And so forth. Now, so you could clean up all these. Now, what I do want you to understand is layers are like different sheets of paper, and you could turn them off and on. Just for the time being, to keep this cleaned up a little bit. I've got so many of these rectangles in this palette right here. I'm going to clean this up by actually adding a layer and putting these onto. So actually, I'm going to click this, create a new layer button. Now, what I like to do is, there's several ways to do this. I'm just going to select all these squares right here, and it highlights them over here on this left-hand side. And I'm just going to click on this top one and drag it onto where it says layer 0. And let's click on this also right here. I'm going to click on my palette image, which says palette, and I'm going to drag this up into this layer also. Where did, sorry, oops, sorry, it's right there in the middle. I'm going to drag it up to layer 0. Nope, I missed it. Or did I? Well, let's check to see. If you want to see what's on layer 0 right here, we're going to use the eyeball and just click on that. Oh, and turns it all off. Oh, I missed it with the other one. Sorry. These ones are not in. Let's grab these, drag them into layers. There we go. Now, okay, this is starting to get cleaned up a little bit. Now I can turn this whole layer on and off by click. So if I want to turn those off, I just hit the eyeball. All right, so now this kind of cleans it up over here. Now these are my other shapes right here. And we'll put those on another layer later. But for this assignment, you're to take your name, and I want you to create shapes that are going to kind of weave in and out of your letters. Maybe it'll be on top of the Y, but below the A, or under the N and below the A, but so forth. And I'm just going to start off with something simple. Let's go ahead and change these colors real quick. I'm going to change the colors of these. I can come over here to my color picker and just change them all to blue at once. I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom in on this. All right, so let's draw with this font. I'm going to kind of stick with maybe some circles that kind of matches this font style. So I'm going to click on ellipse, which is E, E for ellipse. Now, if you want circles, what you're going to do is hold, this is an ellipse, but if you hold shift, it is going to lock it proportion. It's going to constrain it to a circle. So I'm going to hold the Alt key to click and drag copies of this, click and drag for another copy, click and drag for another copy, and so forth. All right, like I said, so now we have to understand what we're talking about with this project is to kind of have this, all your letters and shapes weaved in and out, and I want you to stick with the color scheme that you chose from the last video. We'll worry about colors later. Let's just talk about how we can change the order of this. Now, there are, as most programs, there's several ways to do this. The first way, this is probably not my preference, is this one, these two buttons right here. This will bring an element forward, and this will send an element backwards. So if you click this, it'll kind of move it. Now, if you notice this, it actually, you could just click and drag also over here. I'm going to move this ellipse, and I'm going to call this, let's just change the color right now. I'm going to change this one to, let's just, so I can give it a name, ellipse. I'm going to call this ellipse 1 red, okay? Now, as you can see, when you come up here to this little button right here that send backwards, is it's going to kind of move it on this left-hand side. It's going down a layer. The gray box on the left-hand side is going down, 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 down. Eventually, it's going to be behind the B. Now it's behind the Y, behind the R. Now it's to the back, behind. You could use these quick buttons. You could actually come over here and just drag it up and down, or no, I turned it in a layer. Where is my ellipse 1 red? I'm going to drag it and now bring it up to the top. Now it's in front of the B. Okay, another option is using your shortcuts. Actually, there's right click, arrange. Now these might be worth memorizing. I do, and you will use these a lot. Send it all the way to the back, to the very bottom. Control, Shift, and then the down arrow on your keyboard. Or if you want to move it just one step, Control and the down arrow. Control Shift goes all the way. So these are good to also learn. So if you want to just move to the back, Control Shift, down arrow, boom, and it moves it to the back. Now, so let's bring this R, and I want to bring it, let's rename this one, this circle, for the sake of the video. I'm going to give it to this, I'll just call it light. I have it selected, so I come over here to my layers toolbar, double click on it, and I'm going to call it circle 2, I'm just going to put light, and I want it to be behind the R, so I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to drag it down underneath the R. Literally, it's underneath the R right here on our layers tool. Okay. Now, so you get the gist of it. The whole purpose of the assignment is just to explain how these layers and how you can get comfortable using order and the arrangement in terms of front and back for objects on your design. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to do some more work on my layers toolbar to keep this cleaned up. This layer 0, this was control. Let me zoom out real quick. Control minus. This layer 0, let's double check, was our swatches. So I actually, where it says layer 0, let's keep this clean. And I'm going to double click on the word layer 0, and I'm just going to call it swatches. I'm going to move this to actually the very bottom of our design right here. Now, for the sake of our design, and actually for the time being, let's go ahead and hide it. For our design, let's put all of our design to keep it clean. I'm going to click on the new layer button, and this layer 1, I'm going to call it design. And let's grab everything. Now, there's a couple ways we can do this. Click on the first layer, hold shift and grab to the second layer on the very bottom. It'll grab all of them. Or what you could do is I'm just going to click and drag around all of these objects, and they all are highlighted. If you want to grab various objects, you could hold Control. So let's say you just wanted to do the letters. If I click select B, hold Control, I can jump over and grab the R, the Y, and so forth. Or like I said, let's click on this top object, hold Shift, go down to the bottom object, which is my whole design, and I'm just going to drag them into this folder. All right, this is going to keep my layers much more clean. And again, I could toggle this on and off. Oh, there we go. Let's toggle this on and off, and let's turn on our whole file right here. Okay, there we go. Have fun with it. Experiment with different shapes, with your color palettes, and try to come up with something creative where your letters and shapes are weaving in and out of each other. All right, I look forward to seeing you guys' progress. Have fun.